We're gonna talk about energy storage in this chapter, and there is reason for more and more research on energy storage. The reason is renewable energy is picking up. People are trying to install wind and solar everywhere in the world, and for wind, not only they are doing offshore wind farms, but they are also doing floating offshore wind farm. So those will be farther away down inside the ocean, away from the people view, and even experiencing more higher velocity than what they would expect on land. So floating wind farm. There is even also floating solar panels. So if you don't have enough space because your country is limited, you can start putting a solar panel in the ocean. Okay, and those are economically, those are not just like green and trendy, they are also economically uh, competitive. So here is the price for burning or generating electricity from coal and generating from natural gas in a gas combined cycle. So like a gas turbine running a steam power cycle under it. And so this is not per kilowatt hour. In order to get per kilowatt hour, it will become like 5 cents over here, and this is like 10 cents. Okay, so now interesting, if you compare coal power plant, nuclear and coal, and natural gas combined cycle power plant, you look up here and you'll find wind is even cheaper. So places like Oklahoma, North Texas, and Kansas, and Iowa, those places, all that Tornado Alley, have a very good wind that will make it really cheap to make wind energy out of it. So BSO in few years they had this plan to make a huge power plant, wind-based power farm in the panhandle of Oklahoma. It just didn't, and they're gonna make money out of it. It's just that people there didn't wanna give them the permit to install the wind farm. But the point is, it is very competitive economically, and also when you look at solar, it's as competitive as gas combined cycle. Okay, so now what is the problem then with wind and solar? Well, the one of the big problem is availability. When the wind is available, sometime the people are not asking for the energy. I was one time visiting PSO, and they had on their panel, and they have on their screen computers the the wind farm that they have, how much energy is available. They have real time measurements and the load that the consumer is asking for, and they showed me like, so here is when the wind farm was running and no one was consuming it, and now when people start to wake up and to turn on their microwave and coffee maker to start having their breakfast, now the wind is completely off, and as if we didn't use any of this wind that we had in the early in the morning. So how we can solve this problem? The mismatch, not just on daily basis, but also the mismatch between, like, the demand is different from summer and winter and during the day, right? So there is a mismatch during the day, and there is also difference between summer and winter, right? This problem is not just a problem for solar and wind, when you know the demand is only there at one point and the the production is peaking in the middle of the day, while the demand may peak later evening. But it's also a problem for nuclear power plant and steam power plant that does not like to change the load. A nuclear power plant would love to just keep running all the time at the same load, right? And so now with the consumer doing this, then there is a problem. To meet the demand over here, we have to ramp up our gas turbine and meet this part, and over here we have to find a way to store that extra energy that we are generating, and no one is buying it from us, right? And it's not that easy to shut down or slow down a nuclear reactor or a steam power plant, right? It's easier to do it in a steam power plant, but the heat rate will suffer. So rather than having 9,000 kilowatt hour per uh, 9,000 BTU per kilowatt hour, you will end up going to say 10,000 or 11,000 BTU per kilowatt hour. Okay, and that's a problem. You are cutting into your profit. So it's very clear we need to develop energy storage. So the easiest thing that come to mind is batteries, right? And that's an electric engineering problem, not our problem. And you know, commercial companies like Tesla, they are trying to develop those very efficient battery pack that you can put them in your garage, and so then you can basically use them with your PV panel and problem solved. Very efficient, cheap batteries, solar panel top of your roof, and you are generating your energy from the sky, and you don't need the grid anymore. So, but until this happen, and since we are also mechanical engineer, we need to think and consider other way to store energy mechanically, electromechanically. So we'll talk about potential energy in pumped hydro and potential energy in compressed air. Also, I'm not going to talk about this, but there is like way to store potential energy in springs and torsion power, and like lifting heavy weight up and then putting them down. Something along, you know, those watches where they have the bird coming out from them. Those were fascinating when I was young. Well, how does this guy work? It's like that weight that's basically you put it in the morning, you lift this thing up, and then as this weight go down, you get the energy into the clock. So think about this time, you know, order of magnitude, and that could be a way to store energy, right? Kinetic energy in flywheels. And we will also talk about this, like you can store the energy in solar thermal system just by thermal storage. So the picture in the cover of our textbook, that solar thermal power plant, when you have this big tower in the middle and you had all those mirror sending the heat to that furnace, and it's super white because it's super hot. That furnace doesn't heat water in it. That furnace heat molten salt, and that molten salt go not directly to the boiler, he go to storage tanks, and those storage tank, if they are well insulated, you could still have them hot and available to generate steam in the steam generator even after the sunset. So that's some kind of thermal storage, right? And that thermal storage could just be sensible heat or latent heat. Latent heat means that you can melt something, right? And so you get that change of melting or change of, or you can boil something, you can store energy into it, right?